What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to Thorne and Rain Reloaded channel. And as you can see, I can't say I because I have a guest here today, are going to be talking about the Ironheart series. It's the latest series on the Disney Plus app. It's the latest MCU series, and I have a guest with me today. First time actually being up here, but I'm actually been familiar with this person for quite some time, but this is the first time they've ever been up here on my channel. I got Tina, aka She Dreads Me. What's
going on? Just a friendly visitor, you know.
But Tina, one thing I always talk when I was talking to Tina about her content, and by the way, she has a channel, and I will link it in the description below, so make sure y'all go and subscribe to it. I always compliment it on her editing. I always say how her editing style was always so good. It's always so fresh. It's polished. It comes off very professional, but also very playful at the same time. So you can really enjoy it, especially if you are a casual viewer of the type of content that she does, which is really a piece of it is what we're going to be discussing today.
Right.
But so we're going to be talking about Ironheart. It came out last week on June 24th. They did a three episode premiere, and then they dropped the last 3 episodes yesterday. And one of the things I was talking about at first that I thought was going to be a con, and initially, was why were they going to drop the episodes like that? But I'm gonna be honest with you, after how it ended, I'm kind of glad that they did. They didn't need to, in my opinion, they didn't even need to drag this out. I'm glad that they did it the way that they did. What do you feel about that, Tina?
Of course, I said it when I heard it was gonna be a 2-week drop, and a lot of people were like, "Oh, you could tell they really don't care about this show. They're just trying to just push it off." Which may possibly be true, but I also think it worked out. Like chopping it up into 3 episodes this week, 3 episodes the following week, worked out perfect.
Yeah, and one thing that we talked about right before I hit the record button was how with other Disney Plus shows, and for those who may not be familiar with them, or maybe if you are, they have a format where they'll start off heavy, like they'll hit you in the gut immediately, and then they kind of get flat as time goes on. Where this show did the complete opposite. They started off slow and then ended heavy, which is what it should be as far as formatting goes. And that's one thing that I did like that the show did.
Had 2 different directors. Angela Barnes came in on the end. You could tell it was 2 different stories being told by the directing style, but I think it worked out. I think it coexisted well together.
Because I think that was an issue some people had with Daredevil Born Again, where they started off heavy and then it's like it just kind of dwindled a little bit, picked up a little bit, but then it went off a little bit again. But so Ironheart is basically picking up at where Wakanda Forever left off. You have Dominique Thorne, who is a phenomenal actress, by the way. She's proven that she could lead this series, and it's crazy because she's coming from playing a supporting character in a major film, and now she's leading her own series. And she basically is a student at MIT. She ends up getting expelled and kicked out, and she has to go back home to Chicago. And what I liked about it is that she literally is on the hero's journey. Like, if you want to talk about hero's journey, what Riri Williams, which is the character, had to go through, and she went through a lot in just these 6 episodes. A lot of people would have just given up. Like, they would have just thrown in the towel. Her, on the other hand, she was determined. It was even points where she wanted to give up too, and we'll get into that. But she really was determined to fulfill her mission, or whatever she feels that her mission was, by any means. But at the end of the day, she still had a moral compass. Like, she wasn't too far over the edge either. Like, she still had some kind of morality to herself, where she wanted to keep herself grounded. She also had a nice support system, with her mom, her AI Natalie, and we're going to talk about that. Also, Xavier. So she had a lot of people around her, but she also had some people around her that weren't good for her either.
For sure.
So it was definitely like a balancing act. So we can start off with episode 1. She's she is at MIT. She's doing homework for other people. She's getting paid. She's doing projects. I mean, she's getting paid. This is how she's able to hustle and make money. She's already made a suit with her grant money, but then they find out she ends up getting expelled from the school. And then she takes her suit and she flies back home to Chicago. She almost makes it back to Chicago, but she doesn't land properly. And I like that they did this, because they said well, yeah, you built this suit with your grant money, but you built it on our grounds using our
Right.
resources. So we still have the stuff connected. So when you got
Uh-huh.
expelled, we're expelling you from this suit. And they literally did. I mean, the suit started falling apart. She started falling out of the air, and then she just crashed, and she crashed lands. And I said that was
Yep.
I said in my opinion that was a metaphor for her breaking down to have to build herself back up.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Yep.
Like they literally showed it happening.
Yep. And I was trying to process. I'm like, are they taking, because I was confused on if they're saying, cool, you can keep the suit, but you can't have the AI. Because the AI, she had to log in under her student ID. So I wonder if they were shutting down the AI, or they're just saying, hey, because they let her leave with the suit.
Yeah, they let her leave with the suit. but I think it's funny you said it, because she did have to log in with her MIT password in order to use the AI to actually properly work. So when she got and I thought it was cool that if you saw like right there on the screen, it said expelled. Like, in red letters it said expelled. Like they were just letting you know, like, hey, and as soon as that happened, stuff just started falling off of her, and she literally crash landed it, and right there in the middle of the street. And it was so funny too when she was walking home. They's like, Iron Girl, Iron Ma.
Yep.
I said that's why I love our people. We can be
you can be going through trauma, and we gonna make a joke about it. We gonna joke about it.
Make a joke about it. And so as she's going home, she's like walking, and she's literally carrying all of her items as much as she could gather. And then that's when she ran into that boy Landon. And Landon is like a little hustler. Like, he's not going to do nothing for free. He said, I'll carry this in my wagon for you for like about $20 and everything like that. And he just put it in the wagon. And they start having a conversation. So they develop a little relationship as she's walking on her way home. And then that's when she gets home and she runs into her mom and her mom's friends, and they're all there. And one of the friends happens to be Cree Summer. Shout out to Cree Summer, one of the most iconic voice actresses of our time. I mean, that woman's resume, her voice acting resume is insane. I mean, I remember a couple years ago I was looking up her voice acting resume. I just got tired of reading it. I said you to go. I mean, it is what it is.
She has the crazy. I seen it the other day too. Like, somebody had put a picture of all the voice characters that she played, and I'm like, yo, this is crazy. Those little stories we don't know about, those little things that we don't hear about, they don't put it at the forefront. So yeah.
I actually found out the other day that she does the voice of the green M&M. I was shocked. I was shocked by that. I was like, it was so random, but I'm like, you know what? Hey, what a little interesting fun fact. Shout out to her. And I said when I was looking at her character, she was saging the room. I said that reminds me so much of her character Freddie on A Different World. Freddie was more like the free spirit type of person. This was the kind of person she was, and it's crazy because now it all makes sense with her doing the sage thing because of something that happens with her character in episode 5. We're going to get there.
But I also think it was a smart way, a little subtle way to introduce the conflict of science and magic, the conflict of science and spirituality, because her first instinct is, let me sage this room with some negative energy going on. And Riri's first thing was, so I guess y'all gonna want me to hold crystals next. So it's already showing her kind of resistance being a scientist. Like, I don't believe in all this stuff that y'all got going on. Like, So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and also in the same episode, and we could just jump around a little bit. She ends up seeing this guy named Xavier, which we end up learning is the brother to Natalie, which was Riri's best friend, who unfortunately got killed in a drive-by along with her stepdad while in the garage that he was working at a few years prior. And and you can tell that there's some chemistry there. Like, you can tell that they're trying to. It's like they're leaning into it, but in pieces, like in layers. Like, not like they're jumping like right into it. And basically, they're playing like almost like a reunion, because they hadn't seen Riri since she went to MIT, because she hadn't been back home since then. She just stayed right there. So they just meet up and they just have casual conversations. And also in this episode, we also get introduced to this character called the Hood, played by Anthony Ramos. And the Hood, he's basically a leader of this group of thieves and bandits, and he wears this hood, this cloak like hood, that at the time we don't know, unless you read the comics, you don't know what it is, but it looks sinister because he has it in a room. and every time the room is open, you hear all these voices, like these whispers.
Yeah.
And it's like every time that room is open, you hear the whispers and you hear the sinister music, and you don't know where it's coming from. I mean, well, if
Right.
if you know who's coming, well, I mean, we kind of figured we knew who's coming because we was following
Yeah.
the news. But for those who was watching and didn't know who was coming, they wouldn't understand. So the biggest mystery now is, what's the deal with this hood that he's wearing? Like, why is it so special? Now, I would say, and I don't know how it is for you, I think a commonality that I found across the board when it came to this show, as far as one part that people had an issue with, was that team. I think a lot of people had an issue with the hood's team that he had, which basically, his team broken down was, you had one who was more of a fighter. Well, actually, you had two fighters. They were two fighters. You had a hacker. What was John like? How was
John? Was just everything. John said he was the getaway driver. He was HR. He's a recruiter. John said, I do it all. I just wear all the hats.
So John was basically a Renaissance man. But the thing about John is, John and Parker, who is the hood, were very close. Like they were the ones that kind of started this whole thing. They I guess you could say they probably grew up together. Like, they were very, very, almost like brothers. Like, they were very, very, very close. And John, John is the one that goes and recruits Riri. Like, he goes and talks to her while she's trying to get some parts together to build a new suit. And he's the one that goes and talks to her and basically tells them to come meet them at this location, which is this abandoned pizza parlor, which, this is why I said this show, the way it landed was so good. But she gets on the elevator. She's like, she has to do a test where she has to defuse like a bomb or anything like that. But she's like, bump it, I can't defuse this thing. So I'm just gonna take apart this handle and prop it up under the door and lift it up so I can get up and get it. But hey, that's working smarter, not harder. So she realized she couldn't figure it out. So I have to come up with another way to get up out of there.
Right. Yep. Kind of put you in the mind of Saw. It was a little callback to Saw.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the other one, I forgot the other member, Clown. She was a bomb expert. She made explosives. She made explosives. So, she gets off the elevator. She sees the team, and she's not convinced. She's not like, oh my God. She's not even led by the money that Parker shows her, and it's a lot of money. Like, it's this big crate, like container, like a box, like a lockbox, full of $100 bills stacked to the brim. So she's looking at that, and she's still kind of not like all the way in. She gets ready to leave. But it's funny because she said, I'm about to leave. He said, that's a closet.
Right.
she said, I'm not getting back on that elevator.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. I don't know. I think the money, because she was out of there, but I think when he opened the money up, she was like, oh, he do got a little bit of money. Then I think she started to get morally conflicted. Like, oh, dang.
The money, the thing is, like, when you are in need, it's amazing. Like, you'll fold just a little bit, and she needed the money. That's really all it boiled down to, is that she needed the money. And I'm saying it's 13 minutes into this review. There are spoilers.
Right.
I'm like 13 minutes in. I should have said that 13 minutes ago, but I'll put it in the title. But yeah, to fast forward a little bit, she ends up getting this, like, starting to put the suit together, and now she's trying to create her own AI. She wants to create the AI in a certain way, but then it goes completely left because the AI that she ends up creating is in the memory of her dead friend Natalie. Yep. And Natalie, and then it's like it kind of blows her mind. And I'm gonna be honest, that was so real when she had to sit there at that laptop for 4 hours to have her mind link to it for 4 hours. So she literally sat at that table for 4 hours. Well, she went to sleep, and when she woke up, it was the next day.
Right.
And then when she woke up, she heard Natalie's voice, and she was like, huh? Because that wasn't what she was expecting to see.
Right.
Like, see, now I ask you, like, imagine if you was in Riri Shoes and you was creating an AI, and it was like a deceased maybe family member or a friend that just popped up like right there. Like, how would you react?
Who knows? Like, you would react like, what? Like, that was and I think it was just so cool to show, like, how sometimes people say this, like, whatever you're thinking about when you go to sleep, you may dream about it. So she was sitting there just thinking about Natalie because she had just listened to the tape, and it manifested itself into her AI because she had it hooked up to her head. But I would have been freaked out for sure.
Yeah, like, and it was a natural reaction because, like, she's like, I know my friend is not here. And the thing is, I could see my friend right there in front of me, but I know she's not real either.
Yep.
But she's moving like she's real. So that's pretty much like a summary of like episode 1. It's more stuff, but that was like the main part. Now episode 2, this one was like talking more about, it was giving a little bit more of Natalie's backstory. It was talking about what happened with Natalie and Gary, who is Riri's stepdad, in the garage, them getting killed in the drive-by,
right.
And Natalie now being an AI. And the thing is, Natalie is like, all of this is new to her as well, because it's like she has no conscience of her even, one, being alive, two, being dead. So like so it's almost like she's like a fish out of water, like coming on a dry land for the first time, and she's completely oblivious. So when when she gets inserted into the computer and Riri was gone, like she had left her apartment, she's now looking through the computer trying to find things, and she ends up developing memories based off of imagery and pictures that Riri and her took together, and then that's how she's able to process it and download it into the AI, so she can have some kind of a human-like essence to herself, even though she's not human herself. So I like that they did that.
Yep. I think throughout this series too, even though it's cool, we like it, it also shows the dangers of AI. Like, you give AI an inch and it gives them the ability to take a mile, because I didn't tell you to do that. So why are you looking through all this stuff, trying to get memories, trying to figure out how you can be more relatable? I did not tell you to do that. Why did you do that? So it's also showing you how dangerous AI can be.
And it also shows you how powerful AI is too, because Natalie, on Riri's suit, it projects things. So that's how Natalie is able to present herself in a physical form. But when Riri wasn't there, she projected herself off of her mom's projector, and her mom was able to see her on the screen.
Yep.
And I thought it was funny how the mother's reaction. The mother's as a matter of fact, the actress who played Riri's mom was good, because all the reaction that she gave was like very genuine. Like, it's something like how anyone else would react if they would see something like that. And then I thought it was also, I don't know if it was this episode or not, but it was I guess you could say there was some emotional parts to this show as well. Like when
for sure,
when the mother was talking to Natalie, and like she was just talking to her like a regular casual conversation. And I don't know if it was this episode or another one, when her mother asked her, "Can you make one of Gary?"
Yep.
I thought that was a very emotional part right there. Like, she just, even if she wanted to have just a conversation with her husband, again. So, I thought that was a very interesting turning point.
Look, so forward thinking that this was made 2 years ago. And you fast forward to right now, and I don't know if you see it, but there's people on the internet talking about how they have full conversations with ChatGPT. They have full, like, they're using ChatGPT as their therapist. So I'm like, wow, they were thinking about this 2 years ago, and here we are today, and people are talking about ChatGPT as their therapist. It's crazy.
Yeah, it also kind of reminds me, it was a movie that came out years ago with Joaquin Phoenix and Scarlett Johansson called Her.
Okay, I haven't seen that one.
Basically, Joaquin Phoenix's character, he develops a relationship with this computer AI, and the voice of the AI is Scarlett Johansson, and she's in the computer. So they just called it Her, almost like the artist Her.
Right.
Yeah, it was check it out. It's an interesting movie. It's crazy because that movie came out I would say at the beginning of the 2010s. Somewhere around that. So it's been out for maybe over a decade now, for sure. But he basically a loner, didn't have nobody, and then he ended up developing a relationship with his AI. But ongoing with the episode, I'm trying to think what else happened. You go ahead and take, because I know you already did a review for episodes 1, 2, and 3.
Oh my gosh, that was last week though. So, and then this season just ended, so I haven't had time to really just sit down and process. I can't remember what else happened in episode 2. I think they did their first heist. Their first heist was
the train.
The train.
Not the train. The car thing, the tunnel. That's what it was.
The tunnel. Yep.
First of all,
first heist.
First of all, do you think they'll ever make something like that?
Yeah, for sure. Elon wants to do that. He's been talking about making a tunnel for the Teslas. Yeah.
Right. Like, just put your car right there and just
I
take
don't
you
know if
wherever
it'll
you
be
want to go.
that high tech, but I think
Oh yeah,
Elon definitely wants to do something where instead of he wants to make underground tunnels for the Teslas to kind of zoom through.
yeah.
But
I thought that was very interesting too. Like that was right, and that was the first time we saw Riri interact with Natalie in the as her AI in the suit. And
yep,
I thought, first off, let me just also say the CGI was very well done in
great,
the show. And it's
great.
crazy because when it comes to Disney Plus shows, we'll stick with the MCU stuff. They don't have a big budget like that.
That
Nowhere
this
near
had
what
a
the movies
budget.
do. But you can,
This had
oh,
a
you can
budget.
tell it was they you can tell most of the budget went to that CGI, and it was money well spent because the way her suit looked, the effects, everything, it didn't look rinky dink. It looked very clean. Like, and they let the visual effects department finally do what needed to be done. Because remember that whole thing a couple years ago, they was about to strike about that because they said they wasn't getting paid enough. But you can tell that they really took their time and did this. And they had the whole thing with the train and basically the Hood's his whole mission and with all these heists is that he just wants to take control over all these major companies and corporations. They're like Fortune 500 companies that's in Chicago, and he's basically making these people sign over the rights to the companies and say if you don't do this is going to happen. And the thing is, what else can they really do? I mean, in that scene right there when the woman was inside of the car, he just teleported right into the car and made her sign it. She thought about going to that tablet. He crushed that thing. He did the 8-ounce stomp on that tablet. He didn't just crack the screen. He cracked that thing in half. That's how hard he stomped on it. And he made her sign on that. And so now he says that they have shares and stock options, and they get 6-figure basically they're like the salaries. They're basically silent partners. So basically,
silent partners.
So basically, they just came into a company that's already well established and didn't have to do nothing, and they're about to get paid hand over fist. And
that episode we met Zeke too.
Yeah, we met Zeke. And also in that same episode where Riri finally comes out of the tunnel, that's when she has the encounter with the cop. And the cop was getting ready to shoot her, and then all of a sudden the Hood comes from behind and shoots at the cop, and then you can see with his powers he was able to curb the bullet and hit the cop. So that was the first time, and that was the first time you really saw. I think that was the first time we saw him use the guns. If I'm not mistaken.
That was the first time.
Yeah, we seen him like disappear and reappear, but this is I think the first time that we saw him use the gun, which is his signature weapon. He always has 2 guns. Kind of reminds you of Lara Croft in Tomb Raider, how she has the 2 pistols. So that was pretty much episode 2. Now episode 3. Now this right here is where it picks up. From episode 3 all the way to 6 is where everything just goes up and up and up and up. And it's never really a down moment. It just continues to go up. So in episode 3, this was the one where they do the heist at the
plant house
for the plant house, and it's at this point where Riri is starting to wonder about the Hood. Like, she's wondering like who this Parker guy is, and Natalie is like saying something is kind of off with him. We need to keep an eye on him. And then that's when they come up with the clever idea of well, first off, I think Riri was asking Clown about what does she know about this Hood. And Clown says, we don't know much about it. They say he got it here, he got it there, but the thing that she said that makes us make those wheels start spinning is word is that he got it from some demon. So it's like, ha ha. So when we hear that, that's when Riri says, okay, we need to find out, we need to look more into what this is. We don't need the whole Hood. Clearly we don't need the whole thing, but I just need a piece of it to analyze what this is. So that's when they have the heist and they go to the plant house, and Riri's whole mission is not, she doesn't really care about what else they got going on. She says, I just need to get a piece of that Hood. But also in the same episode, we get introduced to a new character, Joe. We're going to put Joe in quotations. So what did you think about Joe? It's funny because we watched the show, so we know who Joe actually is. Funny.
So I like the introduction to Joe's character. I liked him. He seems like your friendly neighbor who, he's just a normal guy. He shops at Whole Foods. You don't know what else
He,
Joe
li-
has going on.
he lives in the He lives in a nice suburban community, and
Yep.
he lives across the street from a Karen.
Yeah.
Man, she annoyed me so much.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that this woman had the nerve to allow her dog to come and poop on his lawn and
Didn't care.
didn't care and didn't bother to clean it up. Like,
Yeah.
like she just said, "Oh, okay," and
I'll get it
everything
next
like
time.
that. So basically, when we first meet Joe, Joe is kind of like a spineless jellyback type of person. He just kind of lets things roll off of his shoulders. He doesn't really speak up for himself. And then that's when he gets introduced to Riri, because she gets led to him because of the black market stuff. And she says, okay, I need to go to him because he has something that I need. And that's how she runs into Joe. And then, they start to develop a bond, like a relationship and everything like that. And Riri's the one that tells him that, look, you have to learn how to start standing up for yourself, because you just can't let everybody roll over on you. And then eventually, as time goes on, you understand why he is the way that he is. But then that internalized with him, because by the end of the episode, he went right back to that. He went to that neighbor's home with some scissors, because she had left the dog poop in the yard again, and started cutting the heads off of all her flowers. I was like, that's step one. It's a harmless act, but she had it coming.
She did. He was mad.
Yeah, but also in this episode, going back, because I think that happened at the very end, but actually no, it happened before that. You had the whole the plant house situation. So Riri gets in there, she sneaks in, and the Hood is sitting there talking to another person he's trying to get the company from. The person, this guy is not budging at all. Like, he's ready to go. So he's like, okay, snaps his neck. And that was pretty much that end of that. But he made sure to get that signature first.
Yeah.
And all that time that was happening, that was going on, is Riri was taking the laser that she got from Joe to cut a piece of the Hood off. But the thing about it is the plant house had a detector of foreign objects. So every time she used it, the meter would go up. And if it got up to a certain point, it would lock down the facility.
Right.
And start pushing out. What was that, carbon monoxide?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and to stop
to
stop the people from coming in. Of course, but the thing is, she had to do it, so it was a risk. She ended up getting the piece of the Hood. She ends up leaving. Now, one thing I didn't get was, why didn't she leave the way that she came? She went a whole nother direction. I don't know why she just didn't leave back the way that she came.
Because how did she come in? She went in through the pool.
Yeah, she came in through the
I think all the doors were sealed, so she couldn't leave the way she came because they were sealed.
No, they weren't sealed yet. Because remember, when the alarm started going off, she went and climbed through a vent. And then when she was halfway into the vent, that's when it shut. So she could have still went out the way that she came. She had enough time. I
thought everything was sealed off. Because remember, the guy told Parker, like, someone in your crew set everything off, and now you all gonna like pass away in here. Because
I think that it closed a little bit. They didn't close immediately, because when she climbed into the vent, that's when it started to seal off. But which means she would have had time to go back to which I think she probably panicked. Yeah. And that's why she saw an opening somewhere that wasn't where she came from, and went that way. And then she ended up, unfortunately, running into John. And she had a piece of the Hood in her hand, and he saw it. And then that's when they went at it, and they fought a little bit. Riri held her own, and he ended up suffocating from the carbon monoxide. And then Natalie came and saved her with the suit, and then they flew up out of there.
Yeah.
But then I knew something bad was going to happen, because in the midst of them fighting, Riri dropped the laser that Joe gave her. And I was like, this is going to come right back on him. Because what happened in episode 4, what was the first thing we saw? News break. Joe, aka Obadiah Stane. I mean, not Obadiah Stane, Ezekiel Stane, which was a very interesting reveal. For those who don't know who Obadiah Stane is, he was a character from Iron Man who wanted to kill Tony Stark. And Ezekiel Stane, aka Joe, was the son of him. And we found that out because this dude had his dad's ashes in a Ziploc bag labeled, not an urn, but in a Ziploc bag labeled Obadiah S. And then that's when Riri figured out, oh, you said Obadiah Stane? And she's like, who are you to him? And then that's when we revealed that Joe was actually his son. But fast forward to episode 4, breaking news. He's Ezekiel Stain is arrested because they found that laser and they linked everything that happened there back to him. That's why she had that breakdown at the end of the episode, because she knew they were going to find that and it would get back to him.
Mm-hmm. I think it's also cool how they introduced a little propaganda too, because you see how nobody really knew how evil Obadiah was, because they had said earlier that they kind of pretended that he passed away in a plane crash, but but all the inner workings know, oh, he was trying to kill Tony Stark. So the propaganda around his dad was like, oh, he was such a great person, and look at his son has made a stain on the legacy. But you know, real people know, like, look, Obadiah was not a good person, and his son knows that. That's why the ashes is just in a Ziploc bag. He's like, I don't care about him. Like, he was an evil guy.
And even says that he knows that his dad did evil things, and he was trying his best not to be him. He knew exactly who his dad was. So you have that happen. Ezekiel's, well, now we know his name is Ezekiel Stain. He gets arrested, he gets locked up, and he's facing, I mean, this man is facing years behind bars. I mean, these are some serious crime charges that he's hit with, to the point where he gonna be dealing with them 3 hots in the cots for a long time. So Riri, she ends up she says she's starting to like home survey her do surveillance in her home. Like, she's installing cameras because she has a feeling that Parker's going to come after her, because remember at the end of episode 3, he finds out about John being dead, and then the I would say the entity, because remember at this point we don't know who it is, presents John dying to him, and then you see the shadow of the Ironheart suit pop up, and that's when he realizes that she had something to do with it. But he doesn't come right out and just flat out says that that he knows that it's her. But she starts installing stuff because she knows that in her mind, oh, he's probably going to come after me, so I'm gonna install these cameras around the house, in the house, just to make sure everybody is safe. She gives her mom this watch. We don't at that point I don't know what the watch does until we actually see it happen. And it's like a sphere, like a shield, a sphere. And it's funny because when we first see it, she's laying down in her Ironheart suit and she's laying there, she hears a gunshot and she hears her mom screaming. She runs in there, kicks down the door, and all of a sudden you see this sphere pop up, and she was like, I was in the middle of watching Scully.
And I can't remember, I wonder if that's the same technology that she used at the beginning of the show. Remember, she was selling the equipment, and one of the guys went into the bubble.
Because she had kicked something, and the bubble had formed.
That was it. Then
it was the same thing. And one thing I liked about episode 4 is that this is where you start to see Riri go through an intense, depressed, emotional state throughout the entire episode, like to the point where people are telling her she needs to sleep, she needs to get rest, you need to like re-energize because you're tired. She even says it in the episode later on, where she meets up, like she is flying in the suit, and she says, I'm tired, and her heart rate starts to really beat really fast. And Natalie's saying, like, do you need to like take a rest? And she says, just drop me right here and let me just sit down. And she's getting out there and she's hyperventilating. She's going through anxiety. She's going through a lot of different things all at the same time, because she's dealing with so much. She's carrying a lot on her back and on her plate, and it's a lot. Like, she's putting on way more than she can handle. And then it gets even more intense when the suit goes and picks up Xavier and brings him to where Riri is, and then that's when he sees for the first time Natalie as an AI, and he crashed out on Riri. Now I got a question for you based on that. Do you think he had every right to go off on her, or was he doing a lot?
No, I think he had every right to go off on her, because the breadcrumbs were being laid throughout the show that he was a guy who was, I'm cool with technology, but it ain't really my thing. Because remember, she bought him the wireless headphones, and he's like, I mean, I like the wired ones, and he's using like a cassette player or maybe a CD player. So he's really the opposite of her as far as it comes to technology. So I expected him to be freaked out. I would be freaked out. Like, my sister here, what is going, like, what type of weird stuff are you doing? Yeah, so I think he had every right to go off.
Yeah, because especially with him, because he figured like the last time I saw my sister, I was burying her.
Right.
So to see her like right here, so he went off on her, and then Natalie got back into the suit, and she took off. Like at that point, just left Riri stranded right there in the junkyard or wherever it was they was at. And it was at that point where like Riri like had to realize that she can't expect to do. I think the thing is she thinks or feels that whatever she does is going to be right, but it always goes wrong. She wants once she wants to have something go right, but everything just consistently goes wrong. And then that's when she goes back home, and she just has that conversation with her mother, which was another very emotional scene. Episode 4 was just a very emotional episode.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if people watched that and probably shed a couple of tears. Like that was a very emotional episode. But that was pretty much what happened in episode 4. There's some other stuff in there as well. Now let's move on to episode 5. Now episode 5, now that's the one right there that I really wanted to talk about, because this is the one right here. Wait a minute. Before I go any further into episode 5, let me go back to episode 4, because I feel like there's something major we left out. I know it is. Let me go back to episode 5. Episode 4. Episode 4 was when Riri and her mother went to that magic shop.
To the stand.
So remember what we were saying earlier about Cree Summer's character, how when she was saging the room, how to like put a pin in that, because it was gonna come back to that. So we go now. Riri and her mom go to a magic shop that's ran by Cree Summer's character and her daughter. And when I tell you, they drop so many Easter eggs in that one scene. So you have them, and then the daughter does something, and they go from the real world and they drop down and go to this other dimension that's like underneath it. And it's almost like a hidden magic shop that they do, and their spells and stuff like that. And they look at different things. And also in the same episode, Riri's trying to examine the hood. She's trying to destroy that piece of the hood, but nothing she's doing is working. And then that's when they learn that through them that this piece of the hood is very old, it's ancient, it's not of this world. And they're doing all types of things and everything like that. And then they throw it, they do something, she throws it up against the glass, and the mom realizes something. Something ain't right. This is like something they've never encountered before or anything like that. And also they name drop Comatage. And if anyone who knows, Comatage is related to Doctor Strange. That's where all the people who do magic go to practice and hone their skills and do the but so we learned about that, and because we found out the daughter wanted to be there, but her mother said, I'm not going to raise a child there. Right. So she was supposed, really her mom and her technically are witches.
No, not technically. They are.
They are witches. They are witches. They are. Okay, yeah, they are.
Because the mom said she was studying there. She got pregnant. Sounds like she was there for a little bit with her daughter, but decided, you know what, this isn't the place. Let's go back home. So, they're witches or sorcerers or whatever you want to call the women over at Comatage. They in it.
And so after they do all that and they come back up to the surface, the mom is basically pushing them out of the door. She said, like, this is like some very heavily cursed stuff. She said, there's bad magic out there, and this is like the epitome of that. Like it was that horrible, and that she just basically pushed them out the door, and they still are kind of left wondering, okay,
what is this?
Like what is this? It must be that bad that if you just kind of like push us out the door with no explanation. Yeah. So now that we like went back to that, now we can get to episode 5. So we see Riri and the girl, the daughter, at White Castle. And let me tell you something right now. I'm gonna go into something a little bit later about that White Castle, and I said that was perfect how they did that. So they're at White Castle and they're eating and everything like that, because now the hood has basically put a hit out on Riri, and he's telling them to go take her out. So they find her at the White Castle. The first people we see are the twins, the fighters, and man, that fight scene was crazy. Like, I mean, they were all over the White. Now you got to know, White Castle is not a big establishment, so they working with a little bit of room. They were like they was, but Riri was holding her own. Like she was. The thing is, physically, she can't handle them because they're strong. So she has to use objects to knock them down.
Her intelligence,
and to get back up. And but she caught a few hits, but then she had dropped her watch, and they said, you know, just do it one shot. They started to pop it, boom, and then that sphere popped up and caught the bullet. Kind of reminded me of Bruce Leroy. Just instead of in his teeth, it caught up in the sphere. And then they were stuck. They couldn't get out of it. And then when she thought she was in the clear, Clown came to the door with her explosives, and then she rigged them to all the doors so she couldn't leave. So, but what got me though was when Riri made that. And she had that girl flying all the way back. She got hit with a torpedo. I'm like, I know her chest is like throbbing right now when I saw that happen.
Yeah, that White Castle scene was crazy.
Yeah. And also too, because in the midst of those two, her and Clown going at it, she was telling her about, well, he called himself Rampage. And she was saying, you need to go look because I believe that Parker's the one that had him killed. So I'm glad she planted that seed in her head, even in the midst of them fighting.
Right.
Because eventually she does look into that. And so when Riri thinks she's in the clear, she's not in the clear. She runs down the street and Slug is in the truck driving behind her because they got the suit back there because they got Natalie from earlier because they wanted to keep the suit away from Riri because if Riri in the suit, they wouldn't have been able to stop her.
Wouldn't be able to handle her,
and then Natalie uses the buzzsaw to get out, explodes that back door. Riri running down the street, the suit latches onto her, and I thought that was just such a nice scene of zooming in on her face and the suit and the mask coming down, and she punched it down. It was so funny because I don't know if you catch it, but when the truck was going forward and you saw Slug like this, you saw the nails. Did you see the nails hopping? I thought that was an interesting little detail. I thought that was so funny. And then when he,
man, you got it.
And let me just say that speaking of the team, and we'll go back into it, I think Slug and Clown were like the best parts of that team.
Yeah.
I think they had the most best personality out of everyone that was there for sure. But when he got out of the car and Riri did like this, he's like, no, he's like, he did the church thing. He's like, he's like, nah, I'm not about to deal with that. And just when she and this going back to the White Castle, because I don't know if you've been to White Castle before.
No.
Okay, well, it's a reason why I call White Castle the colon cleanser, because because every time I've gone to White Castle, and there's not one near me, but when I've gone, it's always kept me out the next day. I think you can read between the lines of what I mean by that. So when Riri threw up out of the suit, I said with White Castle, I said for people who understand White Castle and their reputation will understand why that was so funny. So she leaves from there and she thinks she's in the clear, and then she looks, and when she's trying to fly up, she gets zapped back down from this electric current, but we don't know who it is. And we look up, and who is it? Ezekiel, because now he done got an upgrade. And now he is strong. He doing superhero landings. He shooting electricity out of his hand. He powered down the suit. He fried that suit. That suit was fried.
It was.
I mean, to the point where it was not only charcoal, but it was literally shredded. It was literally falling off of Riri. Riri she had to pull the suit open and crawl her way out of the suit because it couldn't open up on its own. But I thought what was smart though is where Riri made up for where she messed up at the plant house. Remember when she was in the fight with John, she forgot to go and get the laser, but she made sure to get that AI cartridge.
Oh yeah.
She, with Natalie. So I thought that was interesting that she remembered to do that. What else happened in episode 5? Because I think episode 5 was the longest episode. I think it was almost exactly an hour.
I think we see Parker talk to Sacha Baron Cohen's character for the first time. I think that's the first time we see him.
No, that was episode 6.
You sure? I thought we saw him in 5. I thought he was introduced in 5.
No, it was in 6, because in 6 that's when it was a flashback and he's running and he's under a tunnel, and then that's when we see him and he takes him to the pizza spot. Well, so I think that also in this episode, this was when Parker crashed out on his team. He basically fired all of them. He's
Yep.
on his own. The only one he kept around was Joe. Well, Joe was about to leave. Joe was about to crash out on that Karen again. But then Parker pulled up in the car and he basically told him that you have to do everything that I say. He basically programmed Joe to basically be his puppet, be his slave.
Yep.
So whenever he said, and I like that they did it. He said, so whenever I say jump, he said, it was so funny because he did like a dolphin jump, like it was like a. I thought that was kind of funny when he did that to prove that, hey, and you have to protect me from anything happening to me by anyone. And then that's when him and Ezekiel go to the house, but we don't know whose house it is. So he goes to this mansion, and you see Parker walking, and you see Joe in the background just going here and here and here and here, and because he has no autonomy over his body at this point.
Yep.
So even if he doesn't want to, he even told one of the guards, he says, I really don't want to do this. Boom.
Remind me of Bucky a little bit. Reminded me of Bucky, having that mind control over him. I'm like, bro, this is crazy.
Yeah, like because what Zemo had did to him. But then they get into the house, and then you see Parker having a conversation with this guy. Now, at this point, we don't know who this guy is. I kind of speculated it, but I said I didn't want to be wrong, so let me just see what it is. And then it turns out the person he was talking to was his dad.
Yep.
And his dad, I'm gonna be honest with you, his dad wasn't shit. he wasn't. Like when you listen to what Parker was saying, he said, you kicked me out of the house when I was 12 years old. You never had anything to say about me unless it was something negative. So now you're starting to understand why he acts the way that he does. So then that's when Parker comes and basically says, you're not only going to sign over the company to me, you're going to sign over the deed to this mansion. So he made him give up the house.
Everything.
He made him give up the house. But what got me though, and this is where it kind of started to go into almost like a horror territory, was when his voice changed. Notice his voice got really deep, like almost demonic when he said that you're going to sign over this house, and he says you're going to get up and you're going to get the hell out of this house. He's like, it's mine. As soon as he walked out the frame, he plopped himself right there on that chair. And he was like, I said Parker had the cheat code, okay? That hood gave him the ultimate cheat code. He didn't have to work for none of the stuff that he got. He literally just had to go and shake people down, and he got what he wanted. And then it was at this point when he realized, you know what? Do I really need a team? Because I was able to do this, not necessarily all on my own, but I was able to do it without having to have other people there, and I get to keep most of the money. I don't have to worry about splitting it with other people. But that's when that power and that control started to take over him even more.
Yep.
I'm trying to think what else happened. Was this also the same episode where I think Natalie had displayed in the garage, or with Riri and her mother there, a flashback of her stepdad and her as a little girl dancing inside of the garage? I thought that was a nice little moment right there.
Nah, so I got the episode pulled up here. So on this episode, this is when you're right. This is where they start working on the suit. She actually completes the suit this episode.
Yeah. That suit looked nice. That suit looked nice. It was that red and black, and it had the white light coming through it, and they used the car. And I told people the continuity is there because that's the same car that Riri got sent back to Wakanda from Wakanda and Wakanda Forever. That's the same exact vehicle. Car. So they basically took the car apart and used it to make her suit, and it was a red and black suit, and it had white light going through it, and it had the heart symbol right there in the middle as well. So that suit looked nice. That was that
infused with magic. Zelma brought the magic too.
Yeah, she brought the magic to it. And that leads us now into episode 6, which is the finale. So the suit is pretty much done. It's all complete. It was a team effort. You had Riri, you had her mom, you had Natalie, you had Xavier, you had the little boy Landon that was there. they all pretty much came together and they put this suit together. And I thought it was funny when she said, "Do you think I should add some more stuff?" No, you don't have to add anything else to it, because they were tired.
Working on it too long.
They were working. They were working on it for so long. So now they have the suit together. And what's her name? The one that does the magic?
Zelma.
Yeah. Zelma like draw out the symbols. They almost look like the room. They almost like the runes, you know, for WandaVision. And to have her stand there in the middle, and then she does the little conjuring thing. They use what they could from the hood itself to infuse the magic, but unfortunately, like Zelma said, they said magic comes with a price, and the price was the AI of Natalie was not compatible with the magic in the suit. So when she put the magic in the suit, it removed the AI of Natalie from the suit. Now, what I noticed is that it said that the AI was not found, but it didn't say it was lost, which means it could be found.
Right.
So what did you think about that?
Man, on a deeper level, I mean, you could look at it as spirituality and magic just not cooperating properly with you trying to bring someone back from the dead in the way of using technology. It was just a conflict there. That's how I looked at it. I'm always looking at it on another level and thinking about what are these writers actually trying to say. Because it was weird that the AI just disappeared once the magic hit it. So what is that telling us about this magic and the AI not wanting to work together? But yeah, that was pretty cool.
And then on top of that, this AI is brand new. This magic is very old.
Yep.
So I think that was
old magic.
I think that I would go as far as say ancient magic.
Yeah.
But this was also the episode that everybody's been waiting for. This was when did WandaVision come out? 2021. This is 4 years in the making, almost 5 years in the making.
Yep.
We finally see Mephisto. Finally, after all the speculations of Mephisto's popping up here. Oh no, he's gonna pop up. No, he finally pops up here. And the first time we see him was when it was a flashback with Parker. He's running away from the cops and he runs into this tunnel and it's dark. And this figure pops up and he's wearing the same hood and it's dark, but you really only see a silhouette of him. Then he says, "Come with me in here," and it's inside of this pizza spot, which ironically is the same abandoned pizza spot that we've been seeing through these episodes. And then that's when he sits down and he's talking to him and everything like that. And shout out to Sacha Baron Cohen, because this guy must have did about 3 different accents.
Yeah.
This man must have did about 3 different accents, and he was convincing with all 3 of them.
Right.
But what got me though, what was real funny was when he and Parker was sitting there talking, and Parker was so distracted because of the noise coming from. Now you know what I said. I said they ain't shit for this. You gonna make the black family be the one that's the most loudest in the back of the restaurant, and he was getting so distracted by him, and Mephisto just looked back at him with a look and just froze. He didn't have to do he didn't have to say nothing. He just gave him a look and it got quiet. But you know what is so funny about that? That goes back to how the black family is, as far as like say the black mother. Whenever that kid is getting out of line, all she got to do is give him a look.
Give him that look.
and that kid will straighten, and that kid will straighten up. So I thought that was very interesting that they did that. So they now are talking now, but at this time we know it's Mephisto, but he doesn't reveal himself as Mephisto because he didn't say his name yet. So now he's basically striking a deal with Parker, and he's talking to him. He's like, "What do you want?" And he says that he wants power. He wants to live like a king and have everything like that. And I'm like, "Oh God!" And then he did that. And then he did the handshake. I said, "Well, there you go.
It is. You made that deal.
You literally made the deal with the devil. Like literally, that's exactly what you did because of your own personal gain." So outside of that, you have now Riri's in the suit, and she gets in the suit and she says, "Okay, if magic took Natalie away, then magic's gonna have to be the thing to bring her back." So she gets in the suit, and that's when she goes to confront Parker. But before she confronts him, she confronts Ezekiel, and then they have another fight.
Yeah.
And then they're fighting right there. They're basically they're almost getting the best of each other in this fight, and then, until she locks him in that fridge, and she says, like, "I'm gonna have to kick you in an area that the machinery doesn't recognize, something that makes you still feel human." And she does it, and that breaks him down. That hey, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
And then she basically holds him down, and then he gives her like a little I guess a message. He says, once you're done with Parker, what we got going on is not even near done.
Yep.
So he's basically he's telling her that, I may not have full control on autonomy of my body, or she gave it back because she put that shit right there like that to reset himself. But he says, we still have unfinished business. She kind of gives him a look, and then she leaves, and that's when she goes upstairs to confront Parker. And he thinks he has the upper hand because he doesn't know that she's infused the suit with magic, much less the magic from his hood. Now, what I thought was funny before that was when he was talking, while Riri and Ezekiel were fighting, he was having a conversation with Mephisto in that closet. And then I said, Parker going to try to come at the guy that gave you the deal. And he was like, who do you think you're talking to? He was like, did you not? He was like, and what was so funny, he was like, did you not? He's like, I've been trying to contact you all this time. He says, did you not get my messages? Oh, you mean these scars? I said, if that's the case, yes, he's gotten several of them. The scars are all on his back, and now they're on his neck and on his face. So now you have Riri and Parker going at it. But then, and I thought this was so dope, going back to the CGI, when she concocted that ring with all the symbols on it and slammed it into the ground. And because Parker had went invisible, so she made that and slammed it into the ground, and it made him reveal himself. And then that's when he figured out that she had magic infused. And then he's like, I thought you didn't mess with magic. I thought you was tech. He was crashing. He said, I thought you was tech. And all, like when they were still, they got into a fight, and Riri was not holding back. I mean, she hit that guy like a good 3 solid times in the top of the head. I mean, them was some hard hits. And then what got me was when this man turned into like a whole werewolf or whatever that was. I mean, this guy looked
a demon or something.
Like was like straight up coming out of him. Then he got her on the stairs, and he started to try to rip the arc reactor out, and then she did the self-destruct. So blow it up. But man, when I tell you, I did not see what they was about to do coming, because when this was another one of those jaw-dropping moments when he came through with the guns and held them at her, and she's sitting there begging and pleading for her life. And he said, this is for John, and he pops off at her, and then we look back at it, and you see that blue little glitch. And I was like, wait a minute, huh? So she projected an AI of herself the whole time, not realizing it, that he was fighting AI and not really her. And then she came from behind, she broke them wrists and got that hood up off of him, and then everything started to leave out of his body. I would be pissed if I was him, because the thing is, only the internal left, not the external, which means now he got to live with them scars on his on his body. That didn't go with him.
Crazy.
And then we get out of that part, and she walks downstairs, and who does she see sitting there is Mephisto, but she thinks it's Dormammu, because that's the name that keeps popping up.
That's what Zelma told her.
that it was Dormammu. And then it was so funny because when she had told her, she says, are you Dormammu? He's like, ha! He was like, who would like Dormammu? I forgot what he said.
He's like, man, that's small fry. I'm a big dog. You talking about Dormammu?
Dormammu, like yeah. So they have the conversation, and in the whole time they're talking, I'm sitting there saying to myself, please do not take whatever offer he is about to give you. And the thing is, I had to think about it for a second. What could he offer her? And then when they started showing the flashbacks with Natalie, I said, there it is. She's gonna want to have Natalie back, and not just in AI form, but in real form, like where they can feel each other. And then,
I think she wanted the AI, and he just gave it a real version.
He gave it a real version, but and then
even when she touched her, she was just like, "Whoa, I ain't asked for this now, golly."
Yeah, and that's when he revealed what his name was, and that's when we hear him first say his name. He says, "I've been known by many things, and all this, that, and the third, but around certain parts, they call me Mephisto." Now, I don't know if you picked this up or not. Did you peep what happened with the spoon?
Yes, I saw it.
I was like, wait a minute. I had to pause it right quick, because I was like, wait a minute.
I said carefully to catch it, but yep.
Yeah, so for those who don't know, Mephisto showed up in this show in his human form. But in the scene where he and Riri are talking, he's stirring his teacup around the tea in it, and it has a metal spoon in it. It kind of reminds me of Get Out. That's literally the movie I thought of when I saw that. And when he picks the spoon up out of the tea and kind of taps it on the cup, you can see Mephisto's real face. Now, Mephisto's real form, he looks like Azazel from X-Men First Class.
Yeah.
Like, he has a red face, green eyes. He looks like, because Mephisto literally is the devil. And I like that they did that, because they say whenever the devil shows up to you, he's not going to be in his true form. He's going to be in his human form to fool you. So I like they kind of went biblical with that. So I like that they did that, and I like that they left it open to say that, oh, we can see Mephisto again, and maybe we'll see him more in his true form.
Right.
So basically, they're sitting there talking, and seemingly it looks like Riri took the deal, because when we see her at the end, she hugs Natalie, and you see the scar come across her arm, which means she definitely took the deal. And then it just cut, and then that's pretty much the end. It cuts off after that. Now there is a post-credit scene where Parker goes to the magic shop, because he's gone around asking different people about it, and he says everyone's told him to come to this spot, and he says he came in and he's like, I came in here looking for magic and stuff like that, but I couldn't tell what that looked like from the outside and in here, because it looks very bright. He was probably expecting to see something more dark and mystical. And then that's when he talks to Zelma, and she shows him a glimpse of her powers. She turned like big size candy into like little sprinkles, like literally right there, just by spinning the thing around. And then that's when he basically says something about the back, and he was like, she was like, how do you know about the back? And he was like, he kept mentioning like Supreme and Sorcerer. Listen, we already know, what they're talking about. So a lot of people don't know, and I actually had to look this up. Actually this morning. There is something, it's a comic that came out in 2020 called The Strange Academy. Right. Which is basically a place where young people, it's basically Marvel's version of Hogwarts. Yes. I think that's the best way to explain it. Yeah. I think that if they go forward with this, that's where they're headed with. And I think that in the next Doctor Strange movie, that should be a focal point if they wanted to bring, say, the Hood character back in. Yeah. Into the fold.
Yeah, or Midnight Suns.
That's him. And I've been asking this, where is America Chavez? I keep
she had Carmitage, man. She was over there studying, getting her things done.
I keep saying, I'm like they in the multiverse, and she literally can hop dimensions, and they not utilizing her. But yeah, that's the last time we saw her was in Carmitage. So that honestly, that might be the next time we see her is in Doctor Strange 3, unless they maybe.
Oh nah, she got to be in Doomsday.
Doomsday, definitely Secret Wars. She's definitely got to be in Secret Wars, especially with her power.
Yeah. But earlier in the show, Zelma goes to Carmitage because she said that's my reach school. So she's going back and forth between Carmitage and Chicago. So they can definitely. I talked about this a couple months ago. I just can't see them doing Strange Academy and the X-Men and the Young Avengers, because now we're running, especially if the X-Men are going to be young, because now that you're kind of getting these three groups that are kind of very similar to each other, but. Look, Midnight Suns, man, that's where I say you go with it.
I could. First off, they need to hurry up and just get Blade off the ground. Blade a part of Midnight Suns. Yeah. I don't know what they doing with that. Mahershala Ali don't know either. That's why he said on the red carpet, he says, Marvel, I'm ready.
Y'all get it together. I'm ready to go.
Exactly. But yeah, that was pretty much it. Tina, you got anything else you want to add to this?
Nah, man. I mean, I think if you're a real Marvel fan, I think this show gave us everything that we really been asking for. We got the landing that was stuck for the ending, great CGI, Easter eggs everywhere, so many different things tied into this show, from, like we said, from Doctor Strange to Iron Man. Like, everything is Wakanda forever. Like, this is like the show probably with the most connectivity or callbacks to all of these projects that we recently visited in the past with Iron Man 1. But man, I liked it. I think it was a great show. I think it was a great show.
I did too. Like, I have more pros for this show than I do cons, honestly. Yeah. Because like, we've seen some bad shows come out of Marvel. We have seen some horrible shows. This one right here, I can honestly say without the shadow of a doubt, is not one of them.
No.
This one definitely for me was actually, I really enjoyed it. Everyone did a good job. Shout out to Dominique Thorne. I'm almost certain we will definitely be seeing her again. Where, I'm not entirely sure. Soon, hopefully. But yeah, everybody did a very good. You know what? I would go even as far as to say that if they really wanted to, this show could have got a season 2.
Yeah, and that's expensive. I don't think they'll do it because it costs a lot. They spent some money on this show. You could definitely do a season 2 with it for sure.
Definitely. And to all the people out there saying, why didn't they get Tony Stark? Because RDJ is expensive.
Yeah.
Remember, they had a budget that went to mostly CGI. If they had to get RDJ to even say one line or make a cameo appearance, they would have been even more in the hole.
Yeah.
I said the only thing RDJ could have did that was free was giving his stamp of approval. That didn't cost a thing, which he did. So he didn't have to get paid for that. So,
and we're uncertain on where Stark Industries is at this point because
and Tony
I don't
Stark is dead.
I don't even think Stark Industries was brought up in Spider-Man 3. Did they mention anything about Stark Industries in Spider-Man 3?
It's been a while since I watched
it. They did because Happy was there with Aunt May. Yep.
Okay.
Happy was there. Yeah. So it just seems like Stark Industries is just kind of like, we don't know what's really going on with it right now. Like you said, Tony Stark is dead. So, I mean, you can't really bring him in to be her AI like the comics, because then you're going to confuse people with Doomsday.
And that's why, and speaking of Spider-Man, that's why I said a lot of people had an issue with going back with Spider-Man Homecoming, because technically that was Riri's story.
Yeah.
But they gave it to Peter Parker.
Yep.
That was technically for those who never watched Spider-Man Homecoming, if you look at Spider-Man Homecoming, just replace Peter Parker with Riri Williams.
With Riri Williams, that's her story.
That's really her story right there.
Yep.
Because
other than that,
the show was pretty good. I enjoyed it. I really did.
Yeah.
But anyway, y'all, we are about to get up out of here. I'm glad that y'all was able to tune in. Shout out to Tina, aka She Dreads Me. Like I said, I'm going to leave a link down below in the description. Make sure y'all go and subscribe to her channel. Like I said, she does great content. I continue to praise her for her editing, because I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know if I would have the patience. I'm just being honest with you. Actually, like in recent times, I've actually gotten into the thing of, starting to do a little bit more extra with I'll talk to you about when we end the recording.
Yeah.
But anyway, y'all enjoy the rest of your day, and check out Ironheart if you haven't seen it. Even if you you're a casual viewer, especially if you are a young black girl or a young black woman that's in tech or wants to get in tech, this is a perfect inspirational show to watch for you to actually see what it is. Of course, it's not going to do with no magic or nothing like that.
Right.
But the inspirational part of you wanting to be involved in tech is there through her character. And I think they also hit on a beat of black people, not only in tech, but black people dealing with magic.
Right.
Like they hit 2 beats with this, which I loved. Especially when you think about where a lot of media shows which demographic dabbles in that. So I like that they inserted that in here.
Yep.
But anyway, y'all, we about to be out of here. Y'all be good.